All right. Good morning, everybody. Let's get started. Hello, hello. We are going to dive right in it today into our next question. We are really now kind of in the meat of our series 20 questions to reinvent your life. If you are joining us for the first time and you don't have the workbook, there you go. This is where you can grab the workbook. It's going to walk you through all 20 questions. So this is when we talk about reinventing your life, this is about transforming from where you are to where you want to be, but not changing who you are. This is about diving deep, bringing out the best part of you, the part that has always been there, so that you can have the life of your dreams, the life that you know is there waiting for you, the one that you've been dreaming about. Oh, it's about it. The one that you've been dreaming about, the one that you're like, this, I can see it. I can feel it. How do I get there? All right. So you want to grab the workbook. This way you can go back. Obviously, all the questions are on video. So if you missed one, you can certainly find another one. I'm going to go ahead and pull that up there so that you have it. And if you are joining us for the first time, I would love for you in the comments, pop in, let us know where you're from. Where are you joining us from in the world? And is this the first time you're joining us, or have you been working through the questions with us? And if you're watching the replay, you can answer the same thing. Now, we've done a lot so far, right? We did a lot of self-reflection. We talked about what brings us joy, what we enjoy doing, values, skills, talents, goals, limiting beliefs, and what we were working on in the last couple of days was the support system. Like, who are the people around us? Who do we might need to find? Mentors, people to encourage us. Today, we're going to shift gears and we're going to go into our lifestyle and our environment. And so today's question is, my current lifestyle and environment conducive to the changes I want to make? Is my current lifestyle and environment conducive to the changes that I want to make? So you've been really journaling what you want this transformation to look like. What are the goals that you have? What are the dreams that you want to accomplish? What do you want this new, improved, leveled up life to look like? And now we need to step back and say, okay, am I creating that by what I'm putting around me? Are my choices about my lifestyle and my environment conducive to this? Now, environment, I think, is very interesting because your environment is your home, it's your job, it's your friends, but it extends beyond that. It's who you listen to, the media you consume, the social media that you expose yourself to, the movies that you watch, the books that you read. All of these are going to make a difference. And I am curious, you guys, I know we've done this a few times. That word conductive, I think, is a very interesting word. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to take a look at what is the root word of that. And I don't know what it is, so we're going to do that together. Conductive comes from the 1520s, having the power or property of leading. All right. The power or property of leading, to conduct as a verb, is from the early 15th century. It means to guide, accompany, and show the way. Okay. It also comes from a Latin word, conductus, past principle of conjuncture, to lead or bring together, contribute or serve. Now, I really like this. I think this is why I think power. There's so much power in words, because when we think of, is your lifestyle, is your environment conductive? However, we just interpreted that. What that really is asking us is our lifestyle and is our environment serving and leading us to that transformed life? So that's the context of how I want to think about this, is what we're putting around us in our lifestyle environment. Is it serving us, and is it leading us to this transformed life that we want? All right, so let's talk about what that might mean. So, and again, in the chat, feel free. And if you're watching the replay, I do go back and I comment on the chat. So I know it's early, or sometimes it's hard for people to hop on live. So definitely, if you're watching the replay, I'll be curious on what you think. So number one is, when you think of conductive in that way, does it change how you think of that question, your lifestyle or your environment? So in your journal, here's what I would have you do. I would first say, with what about your environment do you really love? What do you really love? And then what maybe isn't serving you? And guys, this could be really simple or this could be really deep. So let's kind of dive into that. Let's say you're like, I really want to start a business, or I want to write a book, or I want to, create an online store. Do you have a dedicated space in your home to do that? Like, do you have a dedicated space to write where it's quiet and it's uninterrupted? Do you have, maybe you're saying, I want to start a business and you need an office space. Now, I have to tell you guys, when I started my first business, it was out of my college dorm. So be careful here. You can't use that I don't have an office space as an excuse to not go after those dreams, right? So you could start it anywhere, but do you have a space for that? I literally, my office were like it was cardboard boxes under my bed in my dorm. That was my office space, right? But do you have a space to do that? Is it conductive for that? If you're saying, I really want to get healthy and I really want to, minimize my sugar intake and I want to start eating clean, if I go into your kitchen, is your environment conductive of that? Or is your cabinet filled with, food that you really are not wanting to eat? A lot of candy, a lot of sugar, a lot of processed food. Years ago when my daughter she had finished her cancer treatment, and I don't talk about this very often. She had gotten diagnosed with a very, very rare disease. It was an autoimmune disease. Again, life-threatening. I was like, okay, we just got through one life-threatening. Are we going to have another one? We've had 3 so far. It's been fun. And one of the things that, because it was an autoimmune disease, I decided to do was to put her on a gluten-free diet. There was a lot of research, not with this particular disease, but in general about gluten-free being very good for autoimmune. And this disease had very little research to begin. Like, there were very few people who had it. We were flying around the country, or driving around the country to see specialists because there wasn't any research on it. And so to go gluten free, when you've got like a 7 or an 8-year-old, and they want to eat cookies and bread and all the stuff that we want to eat. Sorry, those dogs are going nuts. For them to go gluten free, one of the things we had to do was change our environment. And so part of changing the environment, you guys can hear me. We have 2 dogs. How many of you have dogs? If you're dog lovers, in the comments, you'll understand. If you're not dog lovers, you're going to be like, lady, your dogs are driving me crazy. This is the one drawback of when we're talking about environment, right? Okay, I want to go live. I want to show up and serve you guys on social media. Is the environment conductive of that? Right now, it is not. Right now, it is not, because we have these crazy dogs that are barking their heads off anytime anybody pulls into the driveway or drives by the house. So one of the things that we did is, she needed to be gluten-free, is that we changed the environment. I remember going through my pantries, opening up my pantries and pulling out everything that had gluten in it. Every piece of bread, every piece of pasta, and that entire house became gluten-free, because I wanted the environment to lead to serve this new choice that we were going to make, which was to have a gluten-free home for her and for her to eat gluten-free. Okay. Maybe you are wanting to, put in the comments, let's work through this together. What is it that you would want to change? One of the things that I am really working on this year for me in my transformation this year, and where I want to grow, is in being more consistent I have 3 different businesses. Sometimes I get very overwhelmed. I struggle with kind of going from one activity to another. I'm better off taking, one day and focusing on one business versus trying to do a few hours here and a few hours there. And so one of the things that I'm really working on then is going back, and I've done this before, is going back and doing a lot of time blocking with my calendar. You guys know I have a video on this calendar. It's on YouTube. I absolutely love this calendar. My one that I've used for years was discontinued, and I had to find a different one. I found this one. I was not very happy about it. Turns out this one is even better. So sometimes change can be really good. So one of the things that I'm doing is leaving my calendar on my desk so that every single day I'm forced to see it. I have no idea what is going on in there. I so apologize for what's happening behind me. Talking about the environment being conducive, right? So I leave my calendar on my desk so that I'm forced to really see it every day. I'm forced to be able to look at it. I leave it open. I want my environment to support the fact that I'm really working on this time blocking. I'm really working on making sure that every hour, what am I focusing on? That I've broken it down. So small things like that. Maybe, your home is, you want this kind of like new transformed life, but your home is just very cluttered. And so cleaning out your home, there's a lot to be said about the feng shui, the energy of the space that you're in. Do you want to be in that space? Again, maybe you're wanting to build this business and maybe you have an office, but every time you walk in there, it looks like a storage room and it's not conducive to creating the environment that you want. All right. We also talked about this, earlier on, like maybe your goal is to be healthy and you're like, I want to cut back. I don't want to drink alcohol every single day, but every day after work, you go out with your friends to happy hour. Well, that's going to be an environment that's really not conducive to the changes that you want to make versus maybe twice a week you go out to happy hour and the other 3 days you leave work and you go to the gym, right? And that's going to be more conducive to the environment that you want. So we talked yesterday about the mentors and the people around you and joining groups so that you could surround yourself with the type of people who are talking about the things that you want. Well, now we want the space around you to be like that. If you have a lifestyle of like you really want to be productive and there's a lot of things you want to accomplish, but you're going out really late on every weekend on Friday and Saturday and then sleeping in until 1 o'clock. And now you're losing those precious weekend time where you could be pursuing your goals and your dreams. That lifestyle is not conducive to saying what you want to do. And again, we keep bringing this up. It's not a judgment of if it's good or bad. It's not a judgment of if it's right or wrong. It's a judgment of your own judgment of saying, is this environment serving, supporting, leading me to what I'm saying I want? Not what Tara's saying you want. Not what Tara's saying was this is what you should want, or this is what your parents are saying, but what you want. If you're saying this is what I want, is that leading to it? And a big part of that also can just be the media you consume. If the media you're consuming, guys, there's a lot of research about people who watch the news all the time. If you watch a lot of news, if you're constantly listening to all of the trauma that is going on in the world, that is going to affect your mindset and that is going to affect your ability to transform into the best version of yourself. It's going to physically change your mind, your brain, your neuroplasticity. And it's not to say you need to know, you need to know what's happening in the world, right? Like there's a part about being educated. There's also a part of what are you consuming? What are you consuming on a regular basis and how is that affecting you? Simon Sinek had a really great saying, and I never thought of it this way. He said, if you wake up in the morning and the first thing you do is you go for, you grab a drink, we would all agree if that was the first thing you did, you kind of roll out of bed and you grab a drink, you're probably dealing with some alcoholism, right? You have an addiction. If you wake up in the morning and the first thing you do is you go for a smoke, you grab a cigarette, we could all probably agree you probably have an addiction, right? You have a cigarette addiction. And if you wake up in the morning and the very first thing you do is grab your phone and open up your social media and start scrolling, guess what? You have an addiction. And we know that scroll, that social media scroll produces dopamine in our brain, and it becomes a dopamine hit first thing in the morning, whether you're on Twitter or you're on Instagram or whatever it is. It's not called Twitter anymore, X, whatever, Threads, whatever you're on, right? And you're scrolling, it's creating dopamine in your brain that's affecting your hormones now for the rest of the day. That is an addiction. So like for me, one of the things, and it's a challenge. When I heard this, I thought, oh my gosh, he is so right. That's the first thing I do. I grab my phone in the morning, right? And what is that doing to my hormones and my addictive brain? And so even just getting up and having 10 minutes, 15 minutes, a half hour, an hour pass before you look at your phone. I usually check to see if my daughter texted me. That's it. I check to see if my daughter texted me. And I really am being proactive to not get on Facebook, to not go ahead and check Instagram and to see, because what also you do is you give your power away. You start your day based on everybody else and what they are doing or what they are saying or what they are commenting. And you're letting that kind of lead the direction of your day versus proactively you choosing your day, showing up your best self, and then going in and being able to respond to what you want to respond to. So small choices like that. And maybe that's you put your phone downstairs and you don't put it in your room, and that's changing your environment simply to be conducive of this transformed life that you want. Okay. It's kind of that, if you've ever seen people say, if you want to exercise in the day, the best thing to do is to put your clothes out the night before, your workout clothes. When you get out of bed in the morning, you get right into the workout clothes. You don't get changed into your regular clothes, because if you're in your workout clothes, then you're likely to just get up and go right for that walk in the morning. You're creating an environment that's conducive to what it is that you say that you want. For me, one of the things, again, wanting to be more proactive is making sure, and I've done this in the past, and then I get lazy and I stop doing it. So now I'm going back to it, is to make sure when I sit down at night the next day, like today, I really do have it plotted out every hour of what I'm doing and what I'm working on, so that I can get down, sit down in the morning, and I don't have to think about that. It's just like, okay, here's my plan. This is what I'm doing. Again, let's say your health is what you're working on this year, and you work at maybe you don't work remote, you work at a job where you have to go in. Are you making your lunch, or are you buying whatever's in the cafeteria that's filled with grease and butter and oil, right? Are you creating an environment that is conducive to what you say you want? I see this all the time, guys, because I work in a business where I build a team, and women join this company and they want to make money and they want to, build a business from home. Well, part of that is we do regular trainings. I do trainings every week and teach people how to build a business, and people don't show up for that. They say they want a business, but they don't show up because they haven't made their environment, their lifestyle conducive to that. They haven't put that in their calendar. They haven't talked to their family about, this is really important that I get this training. Their lifestyle is not supporting the changes that they want. Um, and so sometimes when we're looking at that transformation, this can be some of the most powerful changes, because when you start to shift the things around you, you're going to start to show up different. And maybe that means you remove things from your environment, or maybe you add things to your environment. For I think a lot of us, it is you declutter your environment. I remember when I had to leave Colorado and move back to New Jersey. And it was horrible. I literally cried. It was horrible. I cried the night before I left. I did not want to leave Colorado. I moved for my daughter and the circumstances I was going through at the time. I had to leave my house. Had to get rid of almost, everything. I couldn't fit into a moving truck, basically. And what didn't fit in the moving truck, I had to leave. It was just devastating. I remember actually the night before we were leaving, I went into the shower and I was crying so much that I was on the shower floor. I mean, I can laugh now. At the time, it was not. It was horrible. And I literally crawled on my hands and knees from the shower floor into my bed and sobbed myself to sleep. I mean, that was how horrible it was. And I remember getting into this new apartment and just being so sad and sitting there and thinking, I had to get rid of all of my stuff, and this isn't my house, and I didn't want to be here, and just being so incredibly, pitiful for myself. And the guy I was dating at the time, he said, in my pity party, and he said to me, I know that this feels really hard right now. He goes, but I promise you had to get out of that house. That house had all the memories from the domestic violence and your marriage and the divorce. He goes, you will feel better here. You need this fresh start. I know it doesn't feel that way, but you will have this fresh start. And I remember it was a while, but there was a night where I was sitting there and I was sitting on the couch and I looked around that apartment and I thought to myself, everything in here is mine post that very traumatic domestic violence time. Everything in here is mine of my new life. And it was this lift and this freeing feeling that he was so right, but I didn't even know I was going to have. It was like, wow, this is my space. So sometimes changing your space changes your energy. Now, I'm not saying you need to do something dramatic and get rid of all your stuff and move across the country, but look through your home. Are there things in your home that it's kind of that Marie Kondo? Is that what she said? Does it spark joy when you see it? Do you go, oh, this feels aligned with the new reinvented life that I'm building? Or is this a reminder of the old me, the one that didn't serve me, the one that I don't need to be anymore? And that might be changing artwork in your home, or maybe there's a picture that reminds you of, the previous version of yourself that you're like, that's not who I am anymore. I'm this new version, So let's use an easy example. Let's say you're, in this reinvented life, you're not a smoker anymore. And you want to, step into the best version of yourself that doesn't smoke. But you look around your house and there's lots of pictures of you sitting there holding a cigarette. That probably is not serving you in creating the environment of seeing yourself as the new version of yourself, right? So it might be something as simple as that. I remember I went through a season when, for those of you who don't know what my story, I was raised Catholic. I went through a season of really questioning what I believed, about a 5-year season. Studied a lot of different religions, studied with a lot of different groups, and had a couple of transformations that happened for me through that, where I decided that Christianity was what I believed. And so when I was moving, I had all of these other, books from different various religions, practices, different religious texts, things like that. And as a Christian, of course, it says you should not have those things in your home. And I really went, well, these things, they have value to me because I use them during this season. But I went, Tara, but they're not conducive of the reinvented life of what you're creating, the person that, is solid in your belief and in your spirituality. And based on that, for me, it was a purging of those materials, a purging of, let me give those away, donating, and getting rid of those books, workbooks, things that really didn't serve the reinvented person of myself, which was grounded in my Christianity. Again, what works for me may not work for you. What we're talking about today is when you're looking at your reinvented life, I want you to go through and look at your home and say, what is not aligning with the best version of who I am? Whether that's the food in the kitchen or, the clutter that's here. And there might be a season where you need to really declutter so that you can become and show up and be the best version. I mean, if the version of you is constantly searching for things and feeling stress and anxiety because there's so much stuff, that's going to hinder your reinvented life, right? There may be, there could be a lot of things. I don't want to start because of the judgment behind that. This is not what's right or what's wrong. This is just, does it align with what you're choosing? Okay. So first you're going to go through your home. Then I want you to look at your calendar and look at your week. If I looked at your calendar, if I looked at what you're choosing to do with your time, are those lifestyle choices aligned with what you are saying you want to reinvent in your life? So remember, we wrote down our goals, we wrote down our core values, we wrote down what are the things that are important to us. If I go now and look at your calendar, do I go, oh yeah, this person, their values, their goals, their things that they enjoy, that totally lines up with how they're investing their time? Or would I look at that and go, I think these are two different people. This calendar does not seem to match this person based on what they're telling me their priorities are. Okay. You want to make sure these match. That's the lifestyle. Is your lifestyle or the choices of how you're investing your time matching the things that you want to create, the things that are important to you? And here's the thing. If not, if you look at this and you go, yeah, these are two different people, you get the power to change that. You get the power to make that choice to say, how can I take my calendar and start to slowly shift it so they look more alike, right? And maybe it starts with a 1 hour a week that you change. You might be like, I can't reinvent everything, but maybe you start with 1 hour and you shift that 1 hour and then you shift 2 hours and you start to rebuild this calendar, this life, so it reflects the best version of you, the best version of you, the one that you deserve to be. And here's what happens. Everything is energy and life is a ripple effect. So when you start to make these shifts in one area of your lifestyle or your environment, it shifts out. The energy shifts out, it ripples out, and it will start to shift into all areas. You will start to manifest and create in all areas by making small, simple shifts in your environment. All right. Even things like color in your environment. And they talk about this in it's a color theory. Is that what they call it? Kind of like a feng shui, like in bedrooms. They say you should never put red in your bedroom. Your bedroom should never be painted red, because red, when people see red, it's like an aggressive color. It shows that when people look at red, their blood starts to flow. They get a little bit more aggressive, a little heightened, right? Think about walking into a court and you see an attorney walk in with a red suit. It tells something right away. So there's a lot of this really cool research about how our bodies react, how our brains react to the colors that we see. So colors like blue and colors like, green are very calming. They're very, they make our blood, they make our breath slow down. We start to relax a little bit. So they say, you shouldn't use red in a bedroom. You should use blue or green, things that are going to help your nervous system get ready for sleep. Right. So even with that, I mean, there is science behind this. This isn't just like, oh, what we think. Sometimes we think this is woo. No, there's real science behind this. So is your environment conducive to how you want to feel? One of the things when we moved, because I moved into somebody else's house, that I have this one room, it's my office, and you can see the walls are painted this very lovely beachy, blue, because when I walk in here, I love the way that feels. I love how it feels light and it feels beachy, and I love the beach, and it's a place that I instantly feel, that feels good. I have a lot of teal and like a little plant on my desk and things that make me feel good. So look at your environment, because if you feel good in your environment, you're going to want to be in your environment, right? You're going to want to be in that space. I'm going to want to work and be in my office and sit in here because I like how it feels in here. So small things like that. So if you hate to cook and you're like, I want to start cooking so I can be healthier, so I'm not ordering out all the time, but every time you walk into your kitchen, you hate being in your kitchen because it's cluttered and it's messy and the cabinets are filled, or maybe it's dark, then change your environment. Clean it out. And I'm not saying this gives you permission now to say like, okay, I'm going to redo my whole kitchen. Guys, when I was in my apartment, I literally bought for, I think it was $120. I had these horrible, horrible 70s counters. I did get permission from the landlord, but for $120, I think it was like something like that, 120, $150. I went to, I don't know if it was like Lowe's or Home Depot, and I bought this kit where you basically paint your countertops, but they look like stone afterwards. It was wild. It actually really did work. I did it during COVID because we were doing all these like staying home and let's at least make our environment nice. And you literally paint your countertops, but they look like stone afterwards. So what could you do to create an environment that you're like, oh, I love how this looks. It feels really pretty to me. It feels really light. It doesn't mean that you're going to, do massive renovations. It's just small things. Maybe it's getting you go to the dollar store and you get some new towels and pot hangers and things that just kind of brighten up the space, right? What are small things that you can do that make you now want to be in that kitchen, that make you now want to cook? So this is your choice. You get to choose your environment. You get to choose your lifestyle. This is a very simple activity. So you're going to go ahead in your workbook, write these things down. If you don't have the workbook, you're going to go grab it here. In the Hey Girl, if you're part of our Hey Girl You Can community, I want you to head over to our private Facebook group and tell us what are the changes that you're going to be making in your lifestyle and your environment. Let's support each other as we're doing that. Because again, when you tell people what you're going to do, you're more likely to do it. So we want to support you in making those changes. Really quick, if you are in our Hey Girl You Can community, we have our grow session this week. This is every month. We get a session to either grow ourselves or grow our business. And you can get some more information. I posted about that on my Facebook. If you're not in our community, this is the time to join so you can get access and join us live tomorrow. Actually, we will be doing that. And of course, then that replay will be in your library. And the Hey Girl You Can, it's really about walking down this road of transformation on a daily basis together, growing ourselves, growing our business, becoming the best version. So if you're looking for that community, if you're looking for that support, it's $8 a month. Whatever you come in on, you are grandfathered in for life. So you will never pay more than that, which I think is really cool. And then if you're wanting a deep dive and you really want to, you're like, okay, Tara, question today is great, but I need massive transformation. I want a new 2025. I want something totally different. That is our Total Transformation Day. That is happening in a couple of weeks. We work together online all day. It's one day. It's an immersive day that takes you, I kind of picture it from you go in like a caterpillar. We go into this cocoon. It's very small. It's very small group. We work together. You transform as a butterfly. You come out with an action plan. You come out with exactly what you're doing, next steps, so that you can transform your entire life in one day. It is going to be very, very powerful. We've done it before as a weekend. But not everybody can take a weekend away or travel for a weekend. So you're getting it in an intensive one day. I'm so excited to see the women and their lives that are going to be changed because they're part of that. So those are the two ways that I can serve you right now. But please comment. Let me know your thoughts. What were the things that really resonated with you and what will you change as you start to reinvent your life? And I will see you guys tomorrow. Bye, everybody.